Well, Gary, I've already jokingly mentioned to you a couple of times about the contrast in your mood from last week to this week, but you must be absolutely over the moon with our response from that loss to Collingwood as we overcame Casey by 65 points in round 11, and overall a memorable day for the club on Saturday.
Yeah, it was, Sam, and certainly nothing wrong with the short back and sides occasionally, mate. So what you're looking for as a coach is obviously for guys to show some sort of response. We certainly got that in both grades too, really. I thought the development game was really well done as well. Casey came out and kicked the first 5 goals, so for our development boys to respond and have a really good win against quality opposition was an excellent start to the day. Frank Johnson tribute game, and obviously the legend that he is. Certainly, I think the way we played, he would have been really proud of that, and obviously the family, and with Chris the Duck Carey getting the medal on the day, and of course for us to probably almost what we would have said is over 100-point turnaround from the week before against Collingwood. So contributions were significant, and when we bring that sort of pressure, it makes us a fairly hard side to play against. So overall, it was a really, really good day.
Do you want to just tell us a little bit more about the story behind Chris Carey's debut? I understand that he was called into the side at the 11th hour after Khan Haratuku withdrew because of illness, and he produced what you dubbed to be one of the best first games that you've seen in your time at the Borough, as he took home the Frank Johnson Tribute Medal amongst the other usual weekly awards. Just an absolutely remarkable achievement, really.
Yeah, it was, Sam, and obviously Chris's father, Stan, played at Essendon, premiership player, and he rang me late last year and thought that his boy had a little bit of ability and he was probably a bit of a late bloomer, and obviously they've been located in Warragul now for quite some period of time, and of course, like all people, someone wants an opportunity, and more than happy to give a young fella an opportunity. And of course Chris came here with a really good attitude, and he really didn't shirk any issue in relation to the training, and certainly from what he's been able to do through November, December, January, February, March, etc., it's been first class. And I think the thing that stands him aside from other guys is that at 22 he's a little bit more mature, and also too I think he's got really good ruck craft. He's not your big, obviously tall ruckman, but he makes up for that with just his skill craft, I guess. And when you're down there in the Gippsland Latrobe League, well, of course, he's always got to be probably playing above his height and his size. So you obviously really work on the finer points, and he's been able to do that. And I thought it was an outstanding effort against Spencer, who's obviously one of the AFL ruckmen. So all in all, it was a great debut, and really I think the players got a lot of confidence from his competitiveness as well. And really I rang Chris on Friday night, as you said. I got a text from Nicky Haratuku to say that Khan was in hospital and not feeling great. So we had a good chat over the phone, and I think it gave him a little bit of time to prepare for the match. And it wasn't as if then when he arrived here on Saturday morning he had to go through the process of mentally adjusting to playing in the seniors. And when you get someone who comes in and has a bit of an understanding of the game, there's nothing that clouds his head with anything but just giving it a go. And I thought that's exactly what he did on Saturday.
Yep. And we did have those 6 changes to the side, mainly forced through injury and illness, but the changes that we did make seemed to have a positive impact on the side and almost provide a sense of vibrancy that we might have been lacking slightly the previous week.
Yeah, it's funny, Sam. Look, I think at the end of the day, these sorts of competitions are extremely even, so to win more than 4 or 5 games in a row was bloody difficult. And probably, as Justin Plapp said, it was a mirror image of when we came out or went out to Casey. We came off a great win against Footscray, and of course then we probably played a bit flat. They came from Box Hill last week and knocked off the ladder leader, so we felt we had to have a genuine increase in our intensity and our energy and our effort, and the tackling count was 120 odd, so that's the best we've had this year, especially when we only average close to 60 a match. So certainly all week I felt that the way the mood was, we were going to get a response, and yeah, we came out and showed that in the first couple of minutes, so I couldn't be happier with what we showed out there on the weekend.
And we should mention another spirited performance from the Development League. They came from behind a few times to record another victory and keep their spot atop the table, which you must be pleased to see, particularly after all those late changes would no doubt have affected the balance of their side.
Yeah, and certainly right. Look, we've tried to, I guess, instill into the guys that they have to be fairly flexible from a mental point of view, and I think that was the thing that impressed me in the development and the senior side, is that we were able to adapt to the change. We probably haven't done it as well as we could have, but we are still learning, and as you know, every year you do have a lot of changes in relation to your personnel, and I think from a senior perspective now that would be close to 40 players that we've played in the seniors, and even guys like Dylan Atkins, who's just been sort of toiling away in and at around, I guess, the development, and of course he hasn't had a chance yet, but I thought after quarter time he adjusted to obviously the tempo of the game. And what I'm also thinking is that our depth, which we knew at the start of the year, was reasonably sound. And of course we've had guys either away overseas for whatever reason, weddings and holidays and this, that and the other thing. So of course I think it's important that when guys get an opportunity that they do grab that opportunity, and certainly on the weekend all players did that, so extremely pleased.
And we noticed during the second half, when your senior game was arguably already won, that you were still placing a strong focus on trying to drive those high standards, and obviously you're always searching for ways to improve and translate what we put out on Saturday across 4 quarters consistently every week. Is that going to be the main area of focus for you before this week's clash with the Northern Blues out at Kramer Street?
Oh, absolutely. Certainly we've got to try and replicate what we did last Saturday, and that's the hardest thing as a coach. But again, you only have to look at how even this competition is, and percentage is always a problem. And of course, if it gets down to the wire and you think you might have just taken your foot off the throat of the opposition, or guys are straying away from what works, then we're probably not really being professional about what we can control. And as a coach, you're always on edge, because as soon as the game's won, you're thinking about next week's opposition. That's Northern Blues. We're obviously out there, TV game. They'd won 6 in a row before their last few weeks, so they've been a formidable opponent, really. And obviously Box Hill must have played really well. We'll have a look at that game. But certainly for us as a team, we want to try and finish where we need to be, and each week's in isolation. So we'll hopefully go out there with the same energy and intensity, and obviously the attitude. And that's the thing between the years, which is sometimes the hardest thing to get right.
Well, Gary, thanks for your time on Borough TV. Congratulations to yourself and all the coaches on a great effort on Saturday, and best of luck once again this weekend.
Yeah, good on you, Sam.